And we're back on Inside the Ropes, and one of our most talked about guests that we ever had was last summer when we had on the living legend Bruno Sammartino. And everybody was talking about that interview, and who would have thought that less than a year later we would be talking to him less than a week away from him going into the WWE Hall of Fame. So tonight on the phone we have Bruno Sammartino. Bruno, welcome back.
Well, thank you very much, Kenny. Thank you for having me.
So Bruno, I guess, I know you've probably told this story a million times now, but every one of our listeners who listened to you last summer and really invested in what you said are going to want to know why your mind got changed. So we know that it had kind of come out, Triple H had contacted you and there'd been some conversations. How did it all come about, and what was the key kind of changes that made you decide to become involved with the WWE again?
Okay. Well, Kenny, as you know, I was very outspoken because I did not like things that were going on, changes that had been made. For example, I was very, very bothered for a long time because of the steroid drug use that I find very, very appalling because there were people dying from drugs. Secondly, I didn't like what they did to wrestling itself with all the nudity, much vulgarity, very bad profanity, and I detested that the business that I spent a quarter of a century had come down to this level. So I was very outspoken about it, and I made myself heard loud and clear. Now, what's happened? When Triple H called me, this started about 7-8 months ago, I think more like 8 months ago. I quit watching wrestling. I wasn't watching it anymore for many years. He called me and he told me that he said that they were making very big changes in the organization. He said that they had hired a doctor whom I knew very well, a Dr. Joseph Maroon, who is a neurosurgeon, and he's very, very famous because he's one of the very best. And in fact, he has operated on me 3 different times from injuries that I suffered through my career in wrestling. They put him as the head of the drug testing and their wellness program. And so when he told me all that, I contacted Dr. Maroon, since I've known him for many years, and like I said, he has operated on me 3 different times. I contacted him and met with him, and I wanted to hear from him what's going on as far as the drug testing and so forth. This is a very strong, powerful man, this Dr. Maroon. He's not a guy that someone is going to buy out and make him do what they want to do. Not this man. Mm-hmm. So when he told me that they had no interference, and he had a staff of 6 other doctors working with him, and they were doing the most sophisticated and modern testing that there is. And so he told me that was all very true and so forth. So I started watching it because I can tell. Keep in mind that when I was wrestling in amateurs, I was also competing in weightlifting. So I know a little bit about weight training because I trained for many, many years. And I know that the body does not transform itself into being a regular guy one day and then 3 months, 4 months down the road you become Superman. It just does not happen. It takes years of hard work and great discipline and sacrifice to get full development. So when I started watching it again, I saw that look of like the days of Hulk Hogan and superstar Billy Graham and the Ultimate Warrior and Paul Orndorff and so many others. I saw that was all gone. These guys look athletic, but they don't look like the big overgrown muscle guys of yesteryear. So I was pretty convinced that Dr. Maroon was doing his job. Secondly, they assured me that they did away with the nudity with those girls, with the vulgarity, such as Vince McMahon Kiss My Butt Club and all the other terrible, vulgar things that they were doing. And they also told me that they clean up the foul language that they were using all the time. So I watched it for about 2-3 months, and I saw that there was no more nudity, no more vulgarity, and the profanity. And so, with all that, and Paul kept calling me and telling me that they are very serious about making wrestling more family-friendly. And after watching it, like I said, for 3 months or better, I saw that the changes were strong. And as I had promised a long time ago, when I was interviewed, and I was very critical of the WWE, but I was also asked the question, if they change, if they do something about serious drug testing, if they do away with the nudity and the vulgarity and the profanity that you speak so much about, if they cleaned all that up, would you then change your ways, your mind, and maybe accept the Hall of Fame? And at that time, and I've said it many times, I said, if they made all these changes, yes, I would change also. But I had my doubts. I honestly had my doubts. But it has come about because, like I said, this has been going on for 7-8 months, and Paul Triple H has convinced me that they are very serious about all the changes, and he even plans. He tells me they even plans in the future to more and more go back to era of wrestling of my time. That kind of wrestling, and so I have no reason not to believe him because so far everything he's told me is the truth, and that is the reason why I have changed also and have accepted to go into the Hall of Fame.
And Bruno, you've been inducted into several Hall of Fames now. This isn't your first. How does this one stack up? Like, does it mean something to you to go into the WWE's Hall of Fame after everything that's happened, or is it more about you getting to see the fans again in Madison Square Garden and doing it for them?
I'm doing it because they want me to, because, like I said, of all the changes, because I had said if they made the changes I would go in. Also, because since the fans have heard about the talk going on with Paul, Triple H, I've received much mail, and even on the internet, much that people feel that now, that I should go in because they did make all these changes, and so they would like to see me go in. And frankly, I'm happy to go in because, number one, it's going to be held, as you said, in Madison Square Garden. And I have such a great history of Madison Square Garden. So, to go in there, to be inducted by Arnold Schwarzenegger, that we used to be good friends and way back in the 60s and the 70s, he'll be inducting me. To be inducted into the Hall of Fame, I guess you should always feel like it's a great honor to receive that honor. But to be back in Madison Square Garden one more time, there's no question that that's a big thrill for me. And also to give me the opportunity to tell all the fans who will be watching on television throughout the United States and out of the United States, different places that I've wrestled, like Japan and Australia, South America, Hong Kong, Singapore, and so many places that I've been, that they will be seeing this and will give me an opportunity to express my thank you to them for all the support and kindness that they showed for me to all those years that I was in the business.
It must have crossed your mind by now about the first time when you go there this Saturday, the first time you see Vince McMahon again. That's got to be something that's crossed your mind.
Well, everybody's asking me. First of all, everybody asks me, have you talked to Vince McMahon yet? And the true answer is no, I have not spoken to him at all. I will no doubt see him in Madison Square Garden on the day of the Hall of Fame. And Paul, Triple H, has said to me that what they would like is to have me in a private room to meet with McMahon and have a conversation. Someone asked me, what are you going to say? I don't know what I'm going to say. I'm going to play it by ear and see what happens when we meet. I don't think too much about it right now, to be very honest. To be very honest with you, I don't think about it. When the time comes, I will meet with him and see what happens.
And I've got to ask you about someone who has spoken out recently about you, and I kind of feel like I should at least give you the chance to talk about it. Billy Graham has recently been saying in the press that you're only going into the Hall of Fame because they've thrown millions of dollars at you and all these different deals and stuff. Billy Graham's a guy that went into the WWE Hall of Fame a few years ago. Now he's wanting to be taken out of it. What's your view on Billy Graham sort of having such strong opinions on you and on quite a lot of people?
If you want to know the truth, I think I feel sorry for him. I think that he's done so much drugs throughout his career that I think maybe half of his brain is completely burned out because he speaks of things he knows nothing about. For example, in my own situation, he knows very well that I made it very clear when I was very critical of the WWE and why I was so critical. He also knows because he's heard me say when I was asked if they changed everything, would I change as well? And he heard me from years ago saying that yes, I would. He's been critical of the other Hall of Fame, the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame in Amsterdam, New York. And he wanted out of that because he got mad at somebody. I don't know who. He recently, I don't know if you saw, he was very appalled with this guy, CM Punk, because he said something about me wrestling in the garden once a month, and that's all the wrestling I ever did. And in other words, talking, that kind of talk. That he became very outspoken about that. I mean, the things that Billy Graham has been saying and doing, I really don't know what his problem is, but he says things without really having all the facts or really knowing what he's talking about. And like I said, I don't know that it bothered me too much, but I just think that there's something wrong with the man. That's how I see it. There's absolutely something wrong with him.
And, you said that you had watched the television show, so you will have noticed John Cena, one of the WWE's top stars nowadays, and he gets a very polarising reaction from the fans. Half of them boo him, half of them cheer him. Not really ever happened to anybody else as much as it does with him. What do you think of John Cena from what you've seen as kind of the company guy?
Well, he looks very well. He looks like he works out very hard, no question. And he moves well in the ring, and I have only seen him maybe twice altogether. So I have not seen enough of him, but I can see that absolutely he is one of the very top ones in the organization. But sometimes I would like to have the opportunity to see these guys to wrestle maybe 30, 40-minute match. And I get a better idea then as to how well they are when they have to put in that kind of time. That would tell me what kind of conditioning that they have and how their skills will be out there for when you have to wrestle for that long period of time. I haven't seen any long matches yet, but what I've seen, Cena looks great. He moves very well. I don't like some of the things. I saw him, and one of the times I saw him, he was in a cage match, and I didn't understand it because they had a cage match and they had a referee, and they were doing a lot of wrestling moves. In my day, if I wrestled a guy once or twice and then you wound up in the cage on a third match, it was because of what happened in two previous matches. And when you went in there were no referees. There were nobody. It's who and anything and everything goes. And the fans used to find that extremely exciting. And then the one who leaves the cage first is the winner. Now it's so changed. They have a referee in there, and these guys are doing regular arm locks and headlocks, and which it's so different. It doesn't resemble the cage matches that I was involved in. It's so different that that's why I say I just can't compare two different times, two different eras, and it's just completely different.
And just the last thing we wanted to ask you about, Bruno, was you brought it up earlier on about CM Punk had name-dropped you during a promo on Monday Night Raw. Have you had a chance to see much of his work in terms of his promos, and what do you think of him as a performer?
Well, I think his interviews for a villain, a bad guy, I think he's very, very good. That's why I'm surprised at Billy Graham, because Billy Graham was a villain type, and he used to try to say things that was really putting down the opponent and all, including myself and everybody, because there's a villain. That's what he did. So I was very surprised for him to speak about CM Punk like he did, because everybody knows that it's nonsense that Bruno Sammartino wrestled only once a month in the garden, and the rest of the time I was home. It'd be pretty difficult to wrestle close to 7,000 times in 25 years. If you're wrestling once a month, I'd have to wrestle for a couple hundred years. So I knew that. I take no offense to that, because I know that he was talking to turn the people, make people angry, to turn the people off, because he's a villain. That's what he does. But I think he does a very, very good job when he gets on that microphone. I can see where the fans could be very upset and very angry with him because of the way he talks, what he says, how he says it. No, as a villain, I think he does a tremendous job. And as a wrestler, I've seen him a couple times also. I think he's pretty darn good. I don't think he's bad at all. The only thing, if he were in my era, I think he'd be a little too small, because we had much bigger men back then.
There you go. And so this Saturday, you're going into the WWE Hall of Fame. The last thing we just wanted to ask you was, have you thought about your speech yet? Have you kind of got in mind what you're going to say?
Yeah, when I talk, I never write speeches. A lot of people have to write things down. I absolutely do not write anything, and I just speak from the heart. I'm going to speak of the, I feel very fortunate to have reached this point, because if you look back at my life, I was among the very lucky ones to survive a war. I could have died right there, as I came very close to dying, and so nobody would have ever heard of Sammartino. But I was lucky. A lot of people were executed by the SS troops. I survived, so I was lucky there. I came down with rheumatic fever, and nobody gave me a chance to live. The Red Cross, after the Germans had moved out, and they came in to check the sick and the wounded, and they told my mother to be prepared, because they didn't think I would make it another day or two. And yet, with my mother care and love, I survived that, and I got to come to America. I was a bag of bones when I came here. I weighed 83, 84 pounds, and I started exercising, and 10 years later, I was 275 pounds and was considered one of the strongest men in the world. So I've been extremely fortunate, and then to come into this business and to be a headline. I've headlined Madison Square Garden more time than any individual performer in the history of the Garden. I'm very proud of that. So I will talk about all these things. I will talk about what the Garden has meant to me, because the publicity it gave me that enabled me to be a headliner in different countries that I wrestled throughout my career. I would like to express all that to the fans, and then finally I would like to express to the fans how much I appreciate it, the fact that they supported me for all those years, that they did come and fill those seats at that arena, because without that, I would have never been the headliner that I was for 20 years. So I owe that to the fans, so I have to thank them for the support and the kindness that they showed me throughout my career. This is what I want to talk about. I want to cover these kind of subjects.
Bruno, we're looking forward to seeing you go in this Saturday. It's been a long time coming, and we hope you enjoy it. Hopefully down the line we can have you back in the show and you can tell us all about your experiences headlining the Garden one more time.
Well, thank you very kindly. Yes, feel free any time, and I want to thank you for having me on today, and I want to say hello and wish my very, very best to all your listeners in Scotland. And we will do this again when you would like to, somewhere down the road. Kenny, I'd be very happy to do that.
Fantastic. Bruno, you enjoy Saturday, and we'll speak to you soon.